All right, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jesse, and I am with Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. For those who don't know, we're all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. Today, we're really excited because we're joined by En-tom-ica Insectarium in Sault Ste. Marie. We'll get to them in just a second. But first, we have 4 classes joining us from across North America right now. We might get a few others as it goes along. So first, we've got Mrs. Wisniewski's grade 6s in Ripon, Wisconsin.
Hi.
Hi, guys. Very low pitched. I like it. Grade 6 is getting older. Okay. We've got Miss Stanley's grade 3/4s in Petrolia, Ontario. Hi. We've got Miss Flynn's grade 3s in St. Albert, Alberta. Having some technical difficulties, but they are here. Oh, they are the camera. And then we've got Mrs. Wallach's grade 2s in Arlington, Virginia. That's some excitement. Okay. Of course, the reason you guys are all here today is for our speakers. We're joined live in Sault Ste. Marie by En-tom-ica. So there's their bug zoo there. They've been around since 2014, and they like to highlight the wide and wonderful world of insects, bugs, arachnids, spiders, creepy crawlies, all that cool stuff that lives in the undergrowth. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Michael there and the team at En-tom-ica to blow our minds with some cool bugs. Thanks so much for joining us, guys.
Good day, friends. Welcome to En-tom-ica. My name is Max. I'm a bug wrangler here, and we're going to take you on an awesome tour in the fascinating world of bugs. So let's, and we have here one of our guests who is going to join us on the tour. This is Coolvinder.
Yes.
All right, so let's begin our tour. Okay. Really? So here we have a beautiful bug from the Philippines. Her name is Phyllis, and she's a leaf bug. And so, she's a little clumsy, right? We just woke her up, eh? So she's a nocturnal. So during the day she sleeps, and then once the sun sets, she becomes more active and searches for food. So we just kind of woke her up right now, so she's a little slow. So she blends in as a guava leaf, and that happens to be her favorite food. And it's incredible the detail of the leaf on this bug. She really, really looks like a leaf. And notice how she has she doesn't look like an extra fresh leaf. She has a little bit of browning on the edges. And that's very important if you're trying to blend in to assure that not other herbivores will come and eat you, thinking that you're a nice juicy leaf. Where's it from? She's from the Philippines. Yeah. And you can see even her legs really look like little leaves. And she'll even sway left and right in the wind to mimic a leaf. So I'm going to try to blow on her, and she might dance for us. No, she's still sleepy. But normally she'll wiggle left and right to mimic wind movement. She sometimes has very cool dance moves as well. But she's still waking up right now.
Max, you mentioned her legs. We can start off with the first bug you're showing us, but can you tell us a little bit about insects and their legs, how many legs they have?
Okay, very good question. So to be an insect, you need certain parts to be classified as an insect. First of all, you need 6 legs. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Also, insects have antennae. And so you need 2 antennae, and there's this particular insect has a fairly small antenna, and you can see them right here, 1 and 2. The male of this species has actually much longer antenna to capture molecules, pheromones that the female sends in the air so that they can attract mates. And then she also has 4 little wings. So right now they're not fully developed. So you can see 1, 2 here, and then 1, 2 here. And so most insects have wings. If they do not have wings, they have what's called vestigial wings, which are like little tiny remnants of wings. Yeah. And so you can tell in this species, well, for most of the bugs, actually, the males are much smaller. And for this species, the male is much more slender and has very long antennae and has functional flying wings. Once her wings are developed, they'll look like camouflage wings. She won't be able to fly with them, but they'll blend in very nicely amongst the guava leaves.
So, sorry to interrupt, guys. So your audio still works, but your video is cut out, so we can't actually see you anymore. There we go. Now it's back. Never mind.
All right, back in action.
Good.
This wasn't turned on, so it wasn't charging.
Right on.
Cool. And is that how big she's going to get, or does she get bigger than that?
She won't get much bigger than that, but there are other species of leaf bugs. So this one here is called Phyllium philippinicum, but there's also the Phyllium giganticum, which will get about twice that size here. Yeah, and so Phyllis here is part of the stick bug order, or if you guys don't know what an order yet is in biology, she's part of the stick bug family. So her cousins include many types of stick bugs, but she has adopted more of a leaf to disguise to blend in.
Now, do we have bugs like that? Maybe not exactly like her, but do we have stick bugs in Canada and the United States?
Yes, we do. So we have in Canada, we have what's called the northern walking stick. And it's a fairly small walking stick, probably actually the same size as Phyllis here, probably like a few inches. And it's found, you can find it in Ontario. It's more common in southern Ontario, so from Barrie and south of Barrie. Oh, and there's her little dance moves.
Blow on her again.
All right. Huh?
I was gonna say blow on her. There she.
Oh. All right. Okay, so let's go check out our next bug.
So you're putting her back in her little home. So what is that little home called? Does it have a name?
This is a vivarium. So vivariums have normally plants, food, and is a habitat for the bugs. So terrariums have just plants in them. Vivariums have a live animal in them as well. In this case, a bug.
Excellent. And is it warmer? Because she's from the Philippines, which is pretty hot. Do you have heating lamps or anything?
Well, not in this room per se. This is our display area, but in the lab, we keep a very high humidity. So it's around 70% humidity and around 25 degrees Celsius. It's very warm and muggy in there to try to make her comfortable and mimic her warm climate from the Philippines.
Excellent.
And so in the lab, we feed her favorite food, guava. She actually won't eat many other things. She's quite the fussy eater. All right, so let's move on to the next bug. We'll do Ayla here, our little tarantula. Okay.
Do you like her? She's sweet.
There you go.
On the move.
She is quite fast. Oh. Okay. So this is Ayla. She's our pink-toed tarantula. She's still a little baby. And she has a beautiful copper blue color currently. And as she goes through different life stages, she's going to have a reddish coloration. And then she'll end up with little pink slippers once she's full grown. So she's about 2 years old right now. and and she could live up to 15 years about. And so she's a very active tarantula because she's a arboreal tarantula. So she lives in trees.
She's very active, yeah. She's getting her cardio in.
Oh, yeah. So she lives in trees, and that demands agility. So she's actually capable of leaping sometimes 10 meters to another tree or to the ground. Yeah. So you'll notice she has many fine hairs. And this is a common characteristic of tarantulas, is to have these very fine hairs. And that's because tarantulas, although they have 8 eyes, don't see that well. They perceive their environment through their hairs. Their hairs enable them to feel vibrations and wind movements. So if an insect was walking, let's imagine this is a tree branch. If an insect was walking on a tree branch here, Ayla could sense the vibrations caused by the movement of this insect through her hairs, and would be able to detect if it's a good prey item, a good prey item. They also have little hairs that are called urticating hairs that are mostly found on the rump here, and those hairs are used as a defense mechanism. So they can they can rub their back leg a bit like a dog would scratch its back and fling these little hairs at a potential predator that was attacking them, and those hairs have a bit of venom at their tip. And if those were to get lodged in a predator's eyes or lungs, could cause serious problems. Now, Ayla is still a bit young, so her urticating hairs aren't fully developed yet. They can also. Sorry.
I was just gonna say no. You go ahead. Go right ahead.
Okay. She also has 2 little butt fingers here. You can see them here. Those are called spinnerets, and she uses that to make web, not to catch prey. She doesn't weave a web to catch prey, but she makes web to have a comfortable bed to sleep on. So you can see in here in her vivarium, she actually builds a little hammock. And that's where she likes to hang out most of the time, is in the little hammock. She'll also sometimes squirt a little bit of web just to help her find her direction, to know kind of where she's going.
She's got, so you mentioned insects having 6 legs earlier. She seems to have quite a bit more. Could you tell me what she is?
Correct. So she's part of the arachnids, and the arachnids are segmented kind of differently and have other kinds of features that bugs don't have. So she is, instead of having so bugs are segmented having a head, a thorax, and an abdomen. She actually has something called a cephalothorax, which is a head and a thorax mixed together right here. And then she has her abdomen right here. And she also has 8 legs instead of 6. So here it might appear as there are 10 legs. But in fact, the two front legs, the 2 apparent front legs here are called pedipalps and are actually mouth parts. And they sometimes use them as well for signaling. So when a tarantula meets a mate, they'll actually have an intricate dance, and they'll move their pedipalps around in a very sophisticated way to communicate various signals. Cool. So they'll move them around like this a bit. It's very cool. It's definitely worth checking up on YouTube. And so she also has 8 eyes. So 8 arachnids, 8 eyes, 8 legs.
Good way to remember. Now, you guys aren't concerned at all with her on you, and I know a lot of people are scared of spiders and tarantulas. Can you tell us why you're not scared of her at all?
Well, we've had her since she was very young. So she has been quite habituated to being handled. She hasn't been devenomed, okay? We would never do that. So she has full venom capabilities. So She has full fangs as well. We haven't done anything to her fangs. Right now, her fangs are a bit too small to be able to pierce through our skin. But most of the time, the tarantulas will not bite people. Most of the time, if they feel threatened, they'll actually fling hairs rather than go for a bite. They reserve their venom mostly for prey. Also, their venom is not very dangerous to humans. They often get a bad rep from other spiders, such as the Brazilian wandering spider, or venoms that actually have a much more potent venom that is dangerous to humans. Yeah, so for example, we have a bigger tarantula. Her name's Rosie, and she featured in last episodes. And she could definitely pierce through your skin and inject venom, but because she's been so habituated to us handling her, she is definitely not going to attack anybody. And like I mentioned before, their first line of defense is not to bite. Their first line of defense is actually to flee. And then if they were to get trapped, they would fling their hairs at a potential predator rather than go for a bite.
All right. Is there anyone else you want to show us before we go to questions? She's beautiful, though.
Oh, she is gorgeous. She's one of our superstars. And you can start to see some of her little red highlights here. I don't know if they'll pop up on the camera, but she has little red highlights on her rump here. This redness will become more apparent in her next molt. So so for those of you that don't know, so insects molt, so they have an exoskeleton. Their skeleton is located on the outside of their body, unlike us who have our skeleton on the inside. And so to grow past a certain point, they have to shed their skeleton, much like a snake sheds its skin, to be able to grow past a certain point. And so next time she molts, she'll have a little more of a red rump here. Okay, so now let's go to our next bug. Oh, here, I'll get it. Oh. Okay. So this here is Teresa, our praying mantis. Come on over here. Okay, there you go. So Teresa is a dead leaf mantis. She mimics a fallen leaf on the forest floor. They're called praying mantis because they're often observed with their hands up like this, and it kind of looks like they're praying. And what do they pray for? Well, food, of course. So they wait patiently on the forest floor, blending in amongst the leaves, praying for food to come by. And when an insect comes by just at the right length, wow, these claws come out faster than the blink of an eye, and they grab their prey and eat it alive while it squirms for dear life. And once you're stuck in these hooks, there's no escape. That's it. It's dinner time. So praying mantises have awesome vision. You can notice their very large eyes. They have similar vision to us. They have binocular vision. And some have been noted to have been known to see up to 20 meters, which is incredible for its size. And their camouflage is just astounding. It really looks like a fallen leaf. It even feels like a fallen leaf. And it moves like a fallen leaf. Praying mantises have also developed many other disguises. So this one happens to look like a dead leaf. Others look like flowers or lichen. Some look like blades of grass, and others like leaves.
Do we have any praying mantises in Canada or the United States?
In the United States, we do have a species. It's called the Carolinian mantis. I believe that we also have a few other species in the United States. I know in Canada, at least in Ontario, there are no native species. Although it is quite common to see some praying mantises in the wild, especially in southern Ontario, and that's because many people release mantises through a biological control program. So they use praying mantises to control insect populations in gardens, or praying mantises are thought to believe to protect gardens. It is actually not the case. They're not selective hunters. They'll eat anything. So while they do eat some of the bad bugs, they also eat good bugs that are necessary for a healthy garden. But nonetheless, we are able to buy what's called an ootheca, and we have an ootheca in this vivarium here, if you want to see. And then an ootheca looks kind of like a cocoon, and that's just an egg mass that the praying mantis lays. It comes out liquid, and it turns into this solid foam. And in here is encased approximately 50 praying mantises. And so these oothecas are found for sale in various garden stores, for example, Home Depot, and are readily available to the public for biocontrol use in their gardens. And you can see right now, she's actually cleaning herself.
Like a cat.
She's very cat-like. You can even see her head, and she's just cleaning herself. It's very cool. A lot of people think bugs are kind of disgusting, think bugs are gross, but bugs are actually much cleaner than we are. We don't realize all the dust and the small particles in the air, but they notice it. And if they don't keep extremely clean, they're not able to hunt efficiently. Their vision becomes very blurry. Their hooks, for example, don't work as good anymore. So it's very important for an insect to be on top of to be in tip-top clean shape.
Excellent.
Looks like a boxer.
Yeah, and so they also have a special organ here in the thorax, and they have what's it's sort of like an eardrum. They have a tympana here. That's kind of where their ear is located, and that enables them to feel, for example, the flutter of an insect. If an insect was to fly by, they could hear it through this tympana located on their chest.
Outstanding. If it's okay with you, we can go to question and answer. You can keep her out. If you have anything else you'd like to share, we can talk about her. And then the classes can ask questions about her, about the tarantula, stick bug, and anything else you guys have. And does that sound good?
Yeah, well, we have more insects to show, but if they want, they can start asking questions.
Well, how about, yeah, well, take us to the next one, and then we'll do that quick, and then we'll get to questions. Sorry, I didn't know you had more. Didn't want to.
Okay, all right.
Thanks, though. She's lovely.
Yeah, so that one's going to go here. Okay, and so for our next one, we'll talk about Gary the snail, who is not actually an insect, but we'll get into that. We'll get into that later.
It's just gross, but
Okay, so question time.
Cool. Well, really quick, tell us about the snail, because he's big.
Okay, yeah. So this is our giant African land snail. So this is actually a gastropod. It's not an insect. And Gary is probably our most dangerous critter here at the insectarium. Not because it is deadly to humans or it's dangerous to humans. It poses a threat to ecosystems. It's classified as it's in the 100 top most invasive species in the world. And so they're originally from Africa, but they have been spread through through trade to many places in the world and have colonized those landscapes and cause a lot of destruction to those landscapes. For example, in Florida, they have become quite the pest for agriculture. They're very voracious. They can eat a lot of lettuce in one day, and they're very persistent in the environment. They can seal themselves up in this shell for up to 3 years, and they reproduce quite rapidly. So they are actually they're actually hermaphrodites. So they can choose to identify with the sex of their choice. And because of this, they can mate with any snail. And this leads to a high production of snails. And so they reproduce very quickly and can invade an environment rapidly.
Cool. All right. Well, while he's out being gigantic, let's head to classes. And then again, if you guys have questions about anything we've shown today, let us know. So here we go. Let's go to Mrs. Wisniewski's class first. You guys have a question? Come on up.
Hi, my name is Max, and I was wondering, like, what happens to the bug if, like, the leaf part on its back falls off or gets damaged?
Oh, very good question, Max. So that's pertaining to the leaf bug?
Yep.
Yeah. So when it has full-grown wings, you mean, and it looks like a leaf if it gets clipped off?
Yeah.
Okay, so that it would certainly reduce a little bit the camouflage of the bug, but it would still continue to live on as a leaf bug.
Excellent. Well, head to Mrs. Stanley's class. Your second question. You guys have one? Come on up.
Perfect.
I'm Ruby. And so, is it true that after they mate, the females eat the male praying mantises?
Oh, that's a very good question, Rudy. So, scientists are not fully sure. So it does happen in laboratory settings that the female will eat the male, but it really depends on the species as well. So for some species, the males are much smaller than the females, and so they could be a very convenient meal. But in nature, it hasn't been fully documented yet. So there's still some discord amongst the scientific community if this happens in nature or not. But it does happen. It has happened already in laboratory settings where there were much smaller. There was no space really for the male to escape. And so he ended up being a very nice snack for the girls.
Excellent. All right, let's go to Mrs. Wallach's class.
Yeah, they got mail. Why not help them produce? Why did you?
Go ahead and ask this.
Yep, you're good.
Why did you decide to be a bug scientist?
Oh, that's a very good question. So bugs are really fascinating. They're often bugs are often misunderstood. And they have so many awesome adaptations in such a wide diversity of bugs that you can never stop learning, really, and cease to be amazed by their characteristics. Furthermore, bugs have developed such amazing strategies to life's problems that if you study bugs, you can really get a great grasp on life through studying them.
Awesome. Really quickly.
Also, kids, if you want to become an entomologist, it's a great career field. There's a lot of job opportunities in the entomology field, and there are still new bugs being discovered every day. And so you could actually give your name to a species that you discovered if you decide to take this path.
Basically, if you head out to the rainforest, you will find new bugs almost every time. There are millions of different kinds, so there's lots to find. Excellent, Max. All right, let's go to Miss Flynn's class. You guys have a question?
Fine, I'm pretty great.
How many snails are there in the world?
No pressure.
That's a very good question. A lot. They have quite the diversity of behavior and forms, and that might be a good question for our friend Google.
Now I'm gonna look up types of snail. How many species of snail there are in the world? But there's lots. All right, good question. Actually, while we've got the snail up in front of you, can you tell us? So the eyes have come out. He's got these two little things underneath the eyes. What are those? What's going on?
Oh, okay. So yeah, so snails have many very cool features. So this snail has an eye here and an eye here that are kind of extendable and retractable. And they have two little tentacles in the front for tasting. And then a bit lower, where it looks like a mustache, that's actually its mouth. And so snails don't have teeth. They don't bite. But what they have is a raspy tongue, a bit like a cat. And it's called a radula. And what they do is they wrap their mouth around a leafy green, for example, and then they'll grind it down with their tongue until it turns into green mush, and then they'll absorb that. Cool. They also breathe from the side here. They have a little slit on the side of on the side right here, and it should open fairly soon. Oh, there it goes. So now it's taking in a deep breath, and now that'll close up shortly. And this is the active growth zone of the shell right here. So as the snail grows, the shell is being built here on this edge right here. Cool. And so to do so, snails actually necessitate a lot of calcium to build a nice, strong shell. And this particular snail has been known to eat sidewalks or attack the foundations of houses to feed its calcium needs.
All right. So before we go to the next round of questions, Google came through. So there are over 60,000 species of snail, which means like if you took all the mammals on Earth, if you took all the antelope, bats, mice, primates, everything, all of that, that's only about 6,000 species. So there's 10 times as many kinds of snail as there are mammals. So that's an interesting way of thinking about it.
All wow. Right. That is incredible. And so just to it would be nice to have a statistic on the diversity of bugs in the world. But I think last time I checked, it was around like 5 million different species, I believe.
Yeah. Definitely in the millions.
Sorry?
Definitely in the millions.
Yeah, I believe it was 5 million. And there's, in the scientific community, many estimate over 30 million species of bugs exist. And so we only know a fraction of all the living bugs.
Cool. All right. Let's go to a next round. So Ms. Wisniewski's class, if you guys have a second question, come on up.
My name is Brandon, and I wanted to know what is the most dangerous bug that you have?
Most dangerous bugs to ecosystem or to people?
Both.
Okay, well, so to ecosystems would be this. Well, it's not technically a bug, but it would be our snail here, just because of its invasive potential. Now, if we were talking to people, I would say are assassin bugs. And they're not that dangerous. They just, if they were to bite you, it would probably be like 3 bee stings combined in one.
Okay. Now, Max, you told us in one of our last sessions about assassin bugs. Now, really briefly, tell us what they do, because it's kind of creepy.
Oh, well, we can maybe actually bring one out quickly so you guys can see what they look like, and that might help in our description here. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah, take your time.
Okay, so these are our assassin bugs. You can see them right here. They have two little dots on two bold spots on their back to indicate it's actually a warning. They have yellow striping on their legs and two bold dots to indicate that they are in fact dangerous. And what makes them so dangerous is they have a proboscis, which is much like a hypodermic syringe. And so when they find prey, they tackle them down with their very strong legs. They jab their proboscis into their prey. Then they inject venom and digestive enzymes, and that kills the prey and turns it into a sort of a bug slurpee. And then they suck it up, and they just leave the exoskeleton there, just a little empty carcass. They are quite the fierce predator. I would not like to cross one if I was a bug.
Thank you for that, Max. That was excellent. All right, let's go to Miss Stanley's class.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I was wondering if it was rare to find the leaf bug in the Philippines.
I'm not fully sure. I think they are fairly common, but I'm not fully sure.
So when we're done, guys, look up. See it again. One of those questions for Google, because it's difficult to know how many bugs you're going to find in any different area. But that's something you guys can look up. And if you ever get to the Philippines, or if there's someone in your class from the Philippines, you can ask if they've ever seen one too. All right, let's go to Mrs. Wallet's class. Yeah.
What is your favorite bug habitat? And your favorite bug habitat?
What is my favorite bug's habitat?
Yeah.
Well, I like a lot. My favorite is actually Teresa there that we saw, our dead leaf mantis, and she comes from the Malaysian jungle. So it's a nice tropical jungle, and she likes to hunt on the forest floor, as we were discussing. So Teresa here from the Malaysian jungle.
Where are your bugs from, just generally across the board? Do you have bugs from all the continents? Where do they predominantly come from?
Yeah, we have bugs from most continents except Antarctica. But most of our bugs come from tropical regions, particularly Malaysia, like Teresa. So Malaysia and Indonesia, most of Southeast Asia is where our bugs come from. But that's not to say that there are fascinating bugs everywhere in the world.
So just on that note too, for the classes, I really urge you guys, go into your backyards and see how many kinds of insects and bugs you can find. It's really cool. You can find an awful lot.
Oh, fully. Everybody should explore their backyard and try to see the amazing diversity of bugs that they have just right there at their house.
Cool. All right, well, we'll wrap it up with Miss Flynn's class. If you guys have a second question.
What's the biggest bug in the world?
Next time, all good, no worries.
How many babies can a spider have?
How many babies can a spider have?
Well, that's a very good question. It depends on the spider. So I can't really give you a defined answer on that.
How about Ayla?
I'm actually not sure. That's something that I need to look up. I believe that they do lay an egg mass as sort of a clutch, and you get about 20 to 30, but I'd have to confirm that with you. I wouldn't want to steer you in the wrong direction there.
So before we wrap up, you guys, I know in some of the other sessions you've shown us some babies in the Entomica before. We saw the Utica from the praying mantis. Do you have any others you'd like to show us? Are there any around?
Oh, well, we'll show you some of our newest babies. They're very cool. These are little baby assassin bugs. Oh, and here, they're kind of hard to spot, but here's one. I find they kind of look like little ticks.
Yeah.
But they're pretty cute. It's hard to believe how little cute thing like that can become so deadly as it grows up.
One of the points that I think is really important with regards to insects and their babies is that they can have an awful lot of babies. So, it does depend on the spider, it does depend on the bug, but some of them can have tons and tons of babies at once.
Yeah, and that's certainly part what has made them so successful in our world.
Excellent.
Bugs are very fascinating, and while we have a tendency to think that humans control the world, really it's bugs that make the world habitable, actually, as we know it. And a lot of that has become from their adaptations, their great reproductive success, and their great adaptations.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks so much, guys. What we do at the end of every hangout is I'm going to demute everyone's microphone. So Mrs. Wisniewski's class, Stanley's, Wallach, Flynn, if you guys want to join me in saying a big thank you to everyone at Entomica, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right.
We were happy to have you guys here at Entomica. Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us, guys. You're welcome back anytime. And Max, do you guys have a website where groups can ask questions?
Yes, you can find us on Facebook /Entomica.
Excellent. So if you guys have any more you want to learn or see more of the bugs there, do check that out and join us for more hangouts, guys.